Okay, so this is the very first time I've used this thing. It's fairly complicated. It came pretty much pre-assembled, which was really nice. You have to make sure that you get the other racks out. They hide them inside the foam, so don't throw the foam away without getting the other racks out. First time. Okay, now there's a lot of setup. I'm using the 5/8 collar with a 3/8 straight bit, or the spiral cut bit that I bought from it's not Woodcraft now. I think it's Rockler. So I bought, this is the same bit I've been having trouble with, but it looks like it's a setup problem because this joint, I don't have a place to put the phone down. This joint is almost fine. And I didn't use any special gauges or anything to set up the offset here. I just eyeballed it like they show you in the picture. You have to set this one and then you set the other one midway, and then it's supposed to line up. And these pieces are a little bit different thickness, and I didn't get the depth right, but not only does the joint go in, but it's fairly square. It's not a trapezoid. It actually fits. It's a little loose, but I needed a little loose for the glue because you gotta glue it in. So yeah, I mean, it's a serviceable joint. You could use that. You need to set the router a little bit deeper, but I couldn't achieve that with the expensive shit. This one's like $200, and I spent over $400 on the other setup, and the $400 thing, it didn't deliver. This, I mean, you have to put some sacrificials in, and you have to kind of square it up, and yeah, it's a bit more complicated, but I can't really argue with the results here. I need to set the router a little deeper, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I would definitely recommend this. It took, it's pretty much built for you out of the package. All I did was I changed the one to the other. That's really all the real work I did. And then you have to do all the adjustments, which look pretty intimidating, but I don't think it's really all that bad. We need like another 1/16 here. So we'll go ahead and try that. We'll try it again. You have these stops. This stop and this stop have to be adjusted carefully. That's what sets this guy up. So try and do this one-handed here. So this, you have to be careful about how you set this up. Okay, so that's gonna, that stop right there, if that had a micro adjust to it, that would be really beneficial. Or if this one had a micro adjust to it, it'd be really beneficial. But you're supposed to lock these in and not move them. Of course, you're going to as you do different woodworking projects, but I think I'm gonna stick with 3/8. I'm not gonna fuck with it too much here. Yeah, you can see where it's undercut. So if you put a test piece in there and you routed it to make sure your depth was good, then that's where we need to be. We need to get the depth worked out. So I'm gonna go back and re-depth that and see if I can get my better results here. Okay, so I went back, I did a depth adjustment. That's all I did. I didn't change the the sets, and that's just by eye. So I am definitely a Porter cable man. That's for damn sure. I mean, I could make joints today if I needed to. I could get started right now if I had the material. Of course, yeah, okay. It's gonna be a little, but it has to swell. So that'll swell when you glue it. But we could actually get something done. So you could have this set up in 2 hours and actually get something started versus and these are test cuts. So that's the 5/8 bushing, 3/8 bit, 3/8 spiral upcut bit, which I was having trouble with before. Wasn't giving me a square cut, it was giving me a trapezoid cut. I think that's probably the setup. But you can see it's a hand-held setup. So maybe the table was vibrating. I'm not really sure what was going on there. But let's see what, I don't know if I can do a depth check on the bit. Let's see if I can do a depth check. We'll turn off power. Turn off the power real quick here so we don't hurt anybody. Okay, let's get a depth check on this real quick here. How deep to set the bit here, because you can zap the I took a bite out of the fixture. So about 80 thou? Or 0.8. Okay, so you're gonna set the bit to about 0.8, a little over 3/4. So you're gonna want to be able to take a piece of your scrap. It's not really scrap. I had to cut these off of perfectly good wood to waste it. But take a piece of your material you're going to cut, and then you have to clamp it here so that this is true. And then you want to make sure that your cut on your piece that you're going to work is true, which is hard. And then this needs to be true, or at least semi-true. Now that these are set, we don't have to change those. We have our offset for 3/8. So we can put it away, and we can bring it out another day, and we can actually do work, and then we can put it away, and we can bring it out and do work. We don't have to fuss with other shit. And we've got all this extra part stuff, dovetails, other bushings, and I bought a bushing kit. So like I said, this is a 5/8 bushing. I don't know if there's a 5/8 bushing in here, probably. 1/2 inch, yeah, 5/8. Yeah, 5/8. Don't even need it. So the kit came with dovetails, 2 dovetails, 2 straight bits, 3 guides, instructions, but we don't read instructions around here. No, but yeah, this is the real deal. This is what you want. Don't drop $400 like I did. Just buy this thing. Definitely. You're gonna have to figure it out a little bit. It's not super easy to figure out. I guess this has a depthing tool built into it, right? So you can set your depth I need to set that. Cheater's guide. So they thought of quite a bit here. They good engineering. Good engineering. I would like to be able to hold two pieces. I couldn't. It kept trying to fall out, but you'd want to be able to hold both. But yeah, so far A+. Don't know about the advanced stuff, but so far A+. It gives you more control over this joint, the second joint that you're gonna make. That's the troublemaker. The first joint, yeah, I mean, you can make it on almost anything, but the second joint's the troublemaker. Even on the table saw, it's a troublemaker. So you need to be able to minutely adjust that second joint. Well, good luck. Okay, I haven't posted any videos about this yet. I have a long rant about the wood store brand box joint jig that costs $100. Yeah, the crows are going nuts. It stopped raining yesterday, so they're having a good time. So I bought the, what was it, the $199 folding particle board table and the $99 box joint jig, and I spent the $45 on the spiral upcut bit, and I walked out of the store about $400 light, and I spent the next 2.5 hours trying to get a box joint to work, and I couldn't get anywhere with that damn thing. Then I measured the tooth. The tooth was 3/1000 undersized. This probably doesn't matter all that much for woodworking because the wood's gonna shrink and expand and, you know, do all of its fun stuff, but I couldn't get a joint to work properly. The spacing was all messed up. So then I went to the lathe and I built a setup tool. So I bought precision 1/2-inch pins and machined this donut to that's 1 1/8 so that I could drop it through the box joint jig and gap it to the 3/8 tooth. And still, this is dead on. If you mic that is dead on. And this is shrunk fit to the pin. It's not oversized. So that was precisely machined. And still I couldn't get a good box joint. So I didn't bother with setup blocks and all that other stuff. And I even made rings to go around the cutter. I made annular rings. Of course those didn't work out, so I threw them in the junk. There's one of the annular. There's an annular setup ring. It wasn't the right size, but I started making annular setup rings so I could drop them around the tool without touching the flutes on the tool, because I didn't want to chip a flute while using the setup blocks. And I don't really need a precision set of setup blocks. I've got a machine setup. And I bought the brass bar. Brass bar sold as 3/8. Is stuff that you're getting with the box joint jig is pretty much factory, 1/2 inch by 3/8 square bar. So if you just bought a piece of 3/8 brass, it's the same as the setup blocks that they're selling. They're just selling them in little 3-inch chunks. So you know, you're spending extra money you don't have to on quote unquote precision. It's really not. It's just factory. You go to the metal store, your local metal supply, get brass. You know, I bought I bought, that's 3/8 by 1/2. That's the same as your setup. That's your precise setup block right there. All I did was I cut off the ends pretty. So, you know, buy yourself a bar of that. You have infinite setup blocks. Whatever you want to do. Don't matter. The dimensions are pretty tight on that stuff. And if you're not happy with that, well, you can buy stock that's been ground, hardened and ground, if you want to. That's your call. But anyway, getting back to this thing, it took a while to get it set up, but I was able, once I started reading the instructions, and I set, these are really hard to set up properly. These are really hard to set up. But if you have one of these, and a caliper, you can do it. I went crazy trying to get this thing centered right. I didn't need it, actually. So I made this. What the hell is this? This is a centering guide. So this is that's 0.25. Dead on. This is a centering guide to help me center the second cut, but I didn't need it. So this, you need a milling machine to do this. And you know, this is machined out fairly, you know, plus or minus a thou or so. So yeah, you don't need, I thought I would need this, but I actually didn't need it. Both these sides were machined equally, so this should be perfectly on center with, you know, within a half a thou. I'd have to go back and measure it, but all that aside, all that rambling and shit aside, see, there's my precision setup gauge. I just cut off a piece of the bar. Same stuff. Wonder why. Industrial tooling. Anyway, getting back to the meat of the story here. This thing, $230 later, is actually producing results. Now, the spiral cut bit, that's great. I'm using the 1/2-inch collar that came with this. This came with the three tabletops. I'm set up to cut 1/2-inch teeth right now, and we're doing good. The other folks, I couldn't do this, and the teeth were trapezoidal, which is bonkers. And this stock hasn't been machined properly, so these two aren't the same dimension, but these two are completely lined up, which is nice. And you can't do that. You cannot do that. Oops. Well, there it goes. Probably hurt my tooth. Yeah, hurt the tooth. Hurt the tooth. Well, you know, that's not the end of the world. It'll probably be on the inside, so it doesn't matter. On the woodworking people's jig that only cuts the one tooth at a time, you can't do this because the teeth are trapezoidal. Try it. And that's because the fixture is moving on you. I know, because I bought the damn thing. And I'm not going to defame their character or get in trouble for, you know, telling you not to buy the tool. But the video explicitly skips the setup step, where you have to move the jig one way or the other to get a tighter or looser fit. That is unacceptable. That part needs to be shown. So we've got enough for, we're going to make basically 2 drawers, just a shallow drawer. We got to mill this out for the bottom sheet. but this has a fixed tooth, has a fixed relationship between the teeth, and as long as you use the right combination of bit and collar, then you'll get what you expect, and you'll get a decent fit. Now, some might argue, oh, this is too loose. Well, sure, that's too loose. Okay, fine, but you need space for the glue. You might say, oh, how do we know that's a good joint? You're not showing the joint. Okay, well, that's a good point. I'll show the joint. There's the joint. I think that's a decent joint. Oh, you're not showing both sides. Okay, hold on. I have to do this one-handed. Ugh. And this is because we use the depth stop. See, there we go. Okay. All right, that's a decent joint. Now we'll have to sand off the excess, but that's a decent joint. That's a good joint. It's not trapezoidal. It's not all wonky. I'm really happy with that. That works for me. But the depth stop is important. You need to get your depth set right so that there's excess, and you need to make sure that the bit's really tight in there, because if it's not, it starts to wander. And you need to make sure that your clamp is good and tight so that the whole base doesn't lower. But it is possible. With this setup, it is possible. Difficult, but possible. The other setup from the wood store, your average amateur isn't going to be able to get that thing to work. Sorry. I'm an amateur. I got this thing to work. It's intimidating. It has a lot of instructions, has a lot of knobs and twisty things and setup-y things. And if you follow the procedure as carefully as you can, I'm not good at following instructions, but if you follow instructions and keep trying, you will get there with this thing. The other thing, where it's slopping around and sliding around, it's going to take a lot of engineering to get that thing to actually work. It's going to require a micro adjuster, almost like a micrometer adjust, in order to get that other thing to work. This thing, no micrometer. You do need some shims. I was going to put a micrometer on this one just to make it work better, but I'm not there yet. And I was able to get this to work without it. So we don't have to go that far. The only thing I would say about this is that these are inappropriately short. They should extend further, but there's not enough meat on this to actually act as a parallel for the wood to butt up against. So these are not appropriate. These should be much bigger. They should have a much thicker piece, and it should have a longer piece so that when you're putting the wood against it, you know that it's true and square, because the wood can do this, and that's not acceptable. So these are not appropriate for this tool. These need to be fixed. It's going to be difficult, but those need to change. They're set right now where they're supposed to be, but they're not engineered well enough. These need to be better engineered so that you know your wood is true and square against those settings. So that's the big no-no on this guy, is that yes, it is hard to make sure that, because that thing will do this on you. I'm exaggerating, but you can bolt it in so that it's not true, because there's only one point of attachment. So that's difficult. That would need to change. It would need to slide on a slider somehow to make sure that it is true when it's locked. So that I have reservations about. That needs a redesign. But for the $200, well worth it. Definitely well worth it.